Are your navigation links stiff as a cucumber? Fear no more. In this episode, we're gonna magnetize them. Not the cucumber, but the nav links. So in today's episode, I'll show you how you can create these nav links that attract to your cursor. So this effect was inspired by Jay on Twitter. He's a Vercel engineer. I'll post his Twitter in the description below. But he wrote all of this in pretty much all in CSS. Oh my god, Jay, hope you're okay there, buddy. If you need the emotional support, reach out. So let's have a look. You'll be surprised actually how quick and easy this is to build out. So if you have 10 minutes to spare, let's get this going. If you want to learn how magnets work as well, check out today's sponsor, Brilliant. Alrighty, let's have some fun. So I just set up a new Nextjs project here. This is the template that it comes with, so there's nothing added to it. So the first step is to, let's just make a component here. I made a nav TSX here in my components, and I'll just import it here. It's currently empty, so it's just gonna error out. So import nav from, see, it doesn't even recognize it. So let's do export default function nav. There we go. And we'll make this a client component because we're gonna have some interactivity in here. Cool. So now that we have that, we can just return a div that says nav. Cool. So let's import this into our layout. So import, we can just do it like that. Go in here and actually just type out nav because you can import it super easy like that. It didn't do it. So you have to also make sure you press enter at the correct time. Otherwise, VS Code is gonna hate you forever. Okay, let's set up the HTML structure here. So this div is gonna be turned into a nav. And here, again, we're not gonna have a H1. We'll do UL with an LI. And in here, we're gonna paste in our link tags. There we go. And in here, I'm also gonna add another one, which is a span. So our span will actually hold our text because we're gonna animate the text independently from the actual LI. So let's just say home here for now, like that. And this needs a href as well. So let's do /home like that. Cool. Now, if we wanna set up multiple of these, this is gonna be a bit of a hassle. So what we're gonna do actually is go here inside the nav, and I'm just gonna set up a we function here. No function, sorry, I mean a little array here of links. Okay, so just a links array with objects that have a path and a name. Okay, there we go. So rather than looping over like this, what we're gonna do instead is say links.map, right? And then you map over each link like that. And for each of these links, I'm actually gonna open a pair of parentheses here like that because I wanna set up some functionality before I actually return some sort of HTML element here. So now we're gonna create the li here, like that. And for the key here, you could just pass the path, to be fair, because this is gonna be unique and it's not gonna change. So in this case, passing the key of path is fine. Normally, again, you'd want like an ID, but this will do just fine. So we'll do link.path. And now in here, we'll just add the link tag from next. And here we're just gonna insert a span, and then here we can see link.name, right? Because we're just looping over it. And here for the href, we can see link.path. There we go, now it's all hooked up, so we can just insert more links in here, and this will be all configured with the animations as well. But before we set up the logic, let's just give a little bit of styling to these nav links. So let's head over to, let's go to our UL first here. We're gonna add a class name and we're gonna say flex, right? So they're all one after each other. And then we'll add a gap of 12 to give some space. And then here, I'll just add like a padding of 4 just to bring it slightly down, maybe 8, just like that, just so we can see it a tad bit better. All right, cool. Let me zoom in actually a bit. There. Next up, we're gonna install Framer Motions. We're gonna say npm I Framer Motion like that. Cool. Let's also head to the link here and add a font of medium to it, like that. We're gonna say text small, add a padding Y, a padding X of 4. We're gonna add a transition all here because we wanna transition the movement, the opacity, color, everything else. We're also gonna add a duration of 500 to this. Half a second I feel like is plenty, and then ease out to it like that. However, on hover, what I want to do is add a BG slate of 200 to it like that. Okay, so when we, hey, There we go. When we hover, there we go. That looks nice. The roundedness is not there. Did we not add it? We did not. It's sharp AF. So rounded MD. There we go. Now the question is, how do we make these links so like when we click them, they stay active? You can use path name for that. So if you do const path name equals use path name, you can import this from Next Navigation, and then you can just compare if this path name equals your link path here. So now it's just as easy as just adding it here in your class name. And what we can do is import this little utility function from Tailwind. If you have shadcn installed, you can just type cn and import this like that. Oof. This needs to be in curly brackets though, cn, so it's like a function like that, and then you can just paste in the rest of the code here, and then I can just add a comma at the end like that. Let me just restructure this so it's a bit easier for you to see. So just a comma at the end there, and now here what we can do is just say, hey, path name triple equals to link.path, and if that's true, then I want to say bg slate 300, otherwise nothing. Save, boom, there we go, and that just works like that. To actually add the magnetic effect, what we need to do is import this motion tag from framer motion, and now we essentially need to change our allies, our links and spans to be a motion element. And if they're a motion element, you can do all of these crazy stuff with it, like creating these cool animations with all the properties that framer motion provides you. So to change the ally, for example, you just do motion ally. All right, it's as simple as that. If you want to do the UL, for example, or the span, you do motion, not span. Okay, simple as that. Now, what about the link? This is tricky because like I cannot do motion link, right? I'm pretty sure that breaks it. Yeah, see, that breaks it. So to get around that, if you have like custom elements that you want to animate with framer motion, you can head here to the top and just wrap it. Const, you can say motion link, for example, and set that equal to motion, and just paste the link in there like that. And now if we replace that, that still works fine. However, if we hit Control and space, look at that, we have access to all of these framer motion properties like animate and exit and transition. Okay, ready. Next up, we're gonna add a map range function. Now I'm gonna just copy paste this over. I'll have all this code on GitHub anyway. But this map range function essentially takes in 4 parameters: input lower, input upper, lower upper. The whole idea behind this is that it's gonna spit you out a value between -1 and 1. So for example, when we're on the left side corner here, it's gonna output -1. And when you're on the right side here all the way, it's gonna be 1. Same for height as well. So down here would be -1, top here would be 1. And if you wanna learn more about this, it's really just math. So check out today's sponsor, Brilliant. Have you ever struggled learning math, physics, or complex algorithms? Don't worry, me too. I don't know about you, but my ADHD brain really struggles to stay focused because most of the time the courses are just like a person talking like this, or the pacing is just off and I just lose interest. That's why I want to talk about today's sponsor, Brilliant. They offer hundreds of courses on computer science, machine learning, algorithms, and yes, math as well. The best part is that all the courses are broken down into tiny bite-sized lessons. This is great because when you're commuting or going out on a walk, or you just have a 5-minute downtime, you can just sit down and actually learn something new. Get off of TikTok now. Get off! Brilliant makes learning complex topics a breeze. That's because all the lessons are visual and interactive, so you can clearly see what problem you're trying to solve. Not only that, but you can also explore concepts at your own pace. So if you get stuck, there's always like a helpful hint and a step-by-step solution to get you back on track. To check out everything Brilliant has to offer you, I have a special link that's gonna give you 30 days for free, and the first 200 of you are gonna get 20% off the annual subscription. So check out Brilliant in the description down below, or visit brilliant.org/developedbyed. Thank you so much. So I'll head over to our motion ally here, and I'm gonna add our first event. It's gonna be on pointer move. All right, so what do we want to have here? Well, I'll just run an event, and here I'm gonna paste in a custom function that we're gonna create. So I'm gonna name this set transform, like that. And this is gonna take in an item, all right? It can be any item. It's gonna take in the event and then X and Y coordinate. Okay, I'm gonna set this up just now so you can see what is actually going on. So what are the types for these items? Well, these items are just HTML elements, and we'll just say add an and symbol, event, target, like that. Cool, and that should be fine. And for the actual event, this is gonna be a React pointer event. The X here is gonna be a motion value, and Y is gonna be a motion value as well. You might be like, okay, where the hell are you getting these from? Well, you can kind of see if you just hover over. So here for the pointer move, what we're gonna do is essentially extract that item out. So the item is gonna be event current target basically, right? And look, if you hover over it, you can just see the type of it. All right, same for the event. If you hover it, oh, it's a pointer event. Okay, so that's how you can get those values. Now, X and Y, we don't have those yet, but that's fine because we're gonna set this up for each individual link right here. So to do that, super easy. All we need to do is say const, what we'll do is say const X equals use motion value, and we'll import this from Framer Motion. So make sure you import this. And this allows you to essentially animate stuff like that's completely decoupled from the React rendering system, right? So it's not gonna refresh or do any of that jazz. So just remember, this doesn't refresh your, re-render your components. So we'll say Y equals motion value 0. Okay, so let's have a look what's happening here. So we're passing down the item, which is the li, right? The actual event we're passing down, and the X and Y, which are 0. And these are used for animations. Okay, cool. So now in the set transform, how do we actually create this? All we need to do is we'll get the bounds. So the bounds are like the actual position of the element, what's the width, the height, the top, the right. You can get all of that using this cool property called it'll be item.get bounding client rect. Okay. Next up, what we need to do is calculate the user's cursor relative to where it is in the bounds of the li. So to do that, we'll just create two variables here called relative x and set that equal to, and that's going to be event.client x minus bounds.left. All right, so we'll just get that in there, and then we'll do the same for y, and the only difference here is going to be it's not going to be client x anymore, it's going to be client y minus bounds dot, and here we can take the top. And now we're ready. All we need to do is say const x range, and this will be our range from, again, -1 to 1, okay? And here we'll pass in this function that we created up here, finally, this map range. And again, it's gonna take in 4 properties here: input lower, input upper, output lower, and output upper. So our output lower is gonna be the lowest value we want to go with, right? -1. Output upper is going to be the highest value, which is 1. Again, you can customize these, you can add any numbers you want, but that's what we're picking for this. And then the input lower, well, it's going to be 0. That's where we're starting off. And the actual upper, the max value of it is going to be, why am I yelling? I'm excited, goddammit. It's going to be bounds.width. Okay, so the actual li's length. Okay, and then we'll pass in the output lower, so -1 and 1, right? Cool. So hit save. Now this is not gonna work. Why? Well, look what's happening here. We're returning another function. Oh, so that means that we need to add another pair of parentheses here. And the value that goes in here is gonna be our relative position of the mouse. So pass that in there like that. Boom, error's gone. Donezo. You can copy this over, paste in the relative y there. And the only difference here is nothing. We're not going to switch these over. It's just change this x here to a y. Now check this out. We can add this x.set method to actually update that motion value. What's wrong with this? It's a small y. There we go. And hit save. So that's pretty much our whole function set up. Now this says it has explicitly any. That's fine. That's because I didn't set it equal to here like that. There we go. What we need to do is just pass it down here now, right? Which we did actually. Cool. But we get an error. Not cool. I see the little error. It's here at the end. There we go. The arrow. We always miss the arrow. So I just added a multiply of 10 here just to make it a bit more intense, because otherwise it's just gonna shift 1 pixel basically, right, to left and right. So you can intensify this here. Okay, so it's still nothing's happening because we didn't really add these values to our motion li. So you wanna see how simple it is? Style XY. And there you go. There you go. We're getting really close there. I was gonna say, this doesn't look like it's working down. That's because we added bounds width here and not height. So let's modify that really quickly like that. Let me also console log this out for you so you can see what's going on. We'll get the X range. They're the same, so I'll just show you one. If we head over here, pop this open. So look, now when we're at the left side, it's -1. See, and if we go all the way to the right, it's 1. All right, and then we just multiply that value. Okay, so let's have a look. Oof, go here. Refresh, and look at that, it follows it nicely. However, when I let go, it just like stops wherever it wants to stop, right? So to fix that, super simple, we can just head here and add another event called, here we can just say on pointer leave. What I want to do is grab the event again. I don't think I even need the event. I just essentially want to reset the X, yeah, set that to 0, and then Y set to 0. That should be it. Hit save. So let's see, and when we let go, see, it just poof, jumps right back there. How cool is that? Now we're not gonna have that bouncing effect. See, it just goes back on its own, but I added a transition all elastic out here, and this is a custom one that I made here. Again, you can copy paste this, but there's like loads of different easing functions that you can try out and see what you like. I added 1 second to this, and this I just put it on by default, and there we go. How cool does that look? If you want to create layout animations as well, that's going to be really simple. All you need to do is right here where you're looping over everything. All right, so just right outside, just add an animate presence to this like that. Okay, let's copy this, and I'm going to just wrap it around all of these LIs like that. And now in here, in this animate presence, I can create as many as you want, but like you can create a div, for example, add a style to it. You can add an ID to it in here, and then it's going to move around depending on which link is active. Now, so what we're going to do is head over here, and I'm just going to say path name and check if this triple equals the current path that we're on. So that's going to be a link.path, right? We did this up here in the class name, so it's pretty much the same thing. Add a question mark here, and I'll say, hey, if that exists, then just add a motion diff here. Motion diff. Oops. There we go. And basically, if it doesn't exist, then just like don't output anything. So I'm just gonna see nothing there. Well, empty string, that's probably not good. We could just say null here, like that. Okay, cool. So we have our motion diff here that only appears on the active link. And the important thing to add to this motion diff here is gonna be a transition if you want, of type spring, but this layout ID here is really important, okay? Because it's gonna remember, like once you switch to another link, it's gonna know, hey, okay, well, it has this ID, so that needs to move from here to there. And for the class name, let's also add a class name and style this up. We're gonna say position absolute, rounded medium, and then we're gonna do left 0, bottom 0, like that. And here we're gonna add a background blue of 300, like that. We can't see it, where are ya? Width of full, height of full. Well, it takes up the whole screen and it's glitching out right now because it's positioned absolute, but not relative to the actual motion link. So let's just add like a relative here like that. Ooh, there we go. Resized itself. This is still in the back there, so we can head to the span link here and just say z index of that. Oh, it doesn't work. Why? Because CSS is amazing and I love it. It doesn't work because when you add position absolute here, you essentially need to add a position relative to this. It's not gonna work just by adding a bigger z index than your motion diff here, okay? Just because this is positioned absolute. So now if we click check this out, it just jumps to it. That's super cool. Now to actually give it a more 3D effect, I feel like the text should also move as well. So what we can do, here's a cool little trick. We can copy over the style X and Y and apply it to the span as well. So let's do that and hit save. And look at that, now the text also moves with you. And you can adjust the speed if you want, for example, the text one. The way you can do that is, look here where we're looping over each link, right? We can also import something called use transform. So I can say text speed, text X, for example. I can say use transform, that's the one. So as you can see, we can pass in X here, for example, and then we can get the latest value and just like double it or triple it or half it or whatever. So if I say latest here like that, I can say latest times 2, for example, okay? And I'll do the same for text Y. Let's say text Y, paste in Y here, don't forget that. And then rather than saying for the span here, rather than saying, hey, do X and Y, do text, we'll need to say X, text Y, and Y is text, oh my God, text X, and Y is, do you all have problems like this? I hope so. And sometimes you just feel like you have no idea what you're doing. Okay, so look at that, it's twice the speed now. That looks super wacky, by the way. So you'd probably want to do like maybe a divided by 0. I don't know, like 75-ish. I think that looks pretty cool. So that's, there we go. So I'll just like multiply by 0.5. And now if we check, as you can see, it doesn't go all the way down to the edge now. So it's a bit more of a subtle effect. That's really cool. So there we go, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. It was quite simple, fun. Should I start a series where we just create cool effects in Next.js? I feel like that's missing on the internet, to be honest. It's like ever since we moved away from vanilla JavaScript and GSAP, it's like we grew up like, oh, we can't have fun anymore because we're coding in React? Get out of here. But yeah, that's it. I want to check out Pal World. Have you played that game? It looks really fun. And the Next.js course is almost done. I'm so close. I'm getting ready to start filming them and re-uploading them on the course website. It takes so long because it's getting like, it's pretty much 3 times the size of the course that I had previously. So yeah, well excited. Stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter. Until next time.